A stunning win in the wet ensures the battle to be the first ever BTC champion continues into the final race. Max Cook took an impressive wet weather victory in the penultimate race of the first ever British Talent Cup season at Valencia, recovering from a more difficult start to work his way through the front and then pull away in style. He was 29 points down going into the round, and Cook needed to score big to stay in within a shout of taking the inaugural British Talent Cup, and that he did, over 4 seconds clear of points leader and key rival Rory Skinner by the flag. Skinner took a sensible second place, playing the long game in the tough conditions to make his advantage 24 points heading into the final race. It's Skinner versus Cook now, with Sturbridge out of the running after his crash in race 1. And this is the race that will decide the champion, and we will become the first ever British Talent Cup Series winner. It's here at Valencia. We're with MotoGP round 19. It's Saturday, it's the final race, and I tell you what, there's also dry conditions as well. There were plenty of crashes, but shouldn't be quite as many as there were yesterday in today's race. What is about to occur in the British Talent Cup? 24 points is the lead Skinner has. Can he get that one singular point he needs over Max Cook to take the title? We're about to find out. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia. It's round 19 of the MotoGP World Championship and the final round of the inaugural British Talent Cup. In case you didn't realise, this is the inaugural British Talent Cup. That's right, we are in Spain. All the other rounds have been held on British soil, aside from, of course, the round we had in Assen alongside the British Superbike Championship. That was the penultimate round, and this is it, the final. Only 2 men can actually win the championship this time around, Rory Skinner or Max Cook. It is definitely advantage Rory Skinner right now, with 24 points separating him and his key title challenger. But there are so many other riders on the grid who have so much more to fight for, some real challengers on the front and second row. And I tell you what, it'll be Thomas Strudwick, who's looking for revenge after he fell out of contention yesterday. Nothing to lose now has Strudwick. He will be going for that win without a single doubt. There is your pole position man, bringing you the commentary this afternoon. Myself, Matt Dunn, and alongside me, Fran Wild. And frankly, we're chomping at the bit, as I always like to say, to get this race underway, and it will be getting underway very, very shortly indeed. Final moments of focus as the grid walk continues. I tell you what, that is the busiest grid I've seen in the Talent Cup all year, Fran. We've done Asia Talent Cup, British Talent Cup as well. It is absolutely packed down there, pretty much. Yeah, definitely quite a few people down there on the grid for the last race of the season. You see Shui Nakamoto, formerly of HRC, and now involved with Dorna's talent promotion program down there as well. So some more VIP than others maybe. I think a few people just had to have a look at these bikes and machines ahead of the last challenge of their season. So should be a good race. Track conditions are very much better than they were yesterday for race 1. So yeah, could be an interesting one this. It looked like we might get 2 wet races, so yesterday could have shown us a bit of the form book, but apparently not. It's a bit reset now for this final showdown. Yeah, there was a lot of expectation on this man from yesterday. Fenton Seabright for returning to sort of full fitness or so with being here. His results have been on the up lately over the last round that we were at in Assen. But yesterday, he took off that front row. He was in contention for the podium, but crashed out surprisingly early on. Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of an early end to the race for Seabright, unfortunately. And the same was true of Thomas Strudwick, although he did get a few laps further into the contest. And that meant he crashed out of cup contention as well. And this man was the one who actually made a little more progress, and we can see him there down on the grid talking to reigning 2018 MotoGP Rookies Cup champion Chan Onchu. Yeah, man, who's had a very, very good day at the office indeed, isn't he? And also impressive Moto3 wildcard now. Yeah, exactly. Not just Red Bull Rookies champion and former ATC rider as well, but yeah, really great Grand Prix debut from the young Turk today, so maybe he does have a few things to tell Max Cook about the track. I think that's exactly what was happening. Max Cook arrived into Parc Ferme and jumped immediately into the arms of the twin brothers, Dennis and Chan Onchu, and giving them a big hug. They were seriously over the moon for him, understandably so. And, well, it's definitely Rory Skinner's to lose now. I'm very, very interested. I'd love to be able to have a chat with them on the grid grid at the moment. To really get inside their heads, understand what they're thinking. Is Rory Skinner going in here thinking, oh, I have everything to lose? Or is he thinking, I've got so much experience, this is just going to be a formality, got to stay on that bike, it'll be fine. What is Max Cook thinking? Does he think, I'm not even going to really try and consider it, just do the best race I possibly can, like yesterday? I don't know.
It's a difficult one to judge as well. I think with the conditions markedly improved, and obviously Strudwick and Seabright back in that mix at the front. We had Joshua Watley completing the podium yesterday as well. Who knows, those guys who were fighting for that third yesterday, maybe they could get in the mix as well. But yeah, it could be, I mean, in terms of the points, it is pretty much a formality for Skinner in many ways. But obviously the problem he has, that if he does fail to finish this race, although he's got a 24-point advantage, there's genuinely a very, very good chance that Cook could take that win.
Yeah, precisely. And if we think if this was another class of racing, you might think it would be a little bit more of a given. But these Talent Cup series that we have here, run on as part of the Road to MotoGP program, just completely unpredictable. All lap, every lap. We saw that yesterday. Strudwick going down, just completely surprisingly out of the lead. He looked so confident. He knew he had a job to do yesterday. That was to get in front and clear off into the distance. He was doing that so well, and just one little mistake down at turn 4 left his championship hopes in complete tatters. Yeah,
it was a shame for him. Obviously, he had been the standout star of the early part of the race, incredibly confident off the line into turn 1 and in those early laps, and looked, like you say, super in control and in the lead, really comfortable. But then, unfortunately, one mistake in those difficult conditions we had yesterday, you can pay a high price, and it was a high side price, unfortunately, that the youngster did pay. But he was up and okay fairly quickly, so that's the good thing for him.
That was really impressive, actually, a high side price. That was
yeah.
Great pun.
Trying to get him in early.
Commencing countdown, engines on British Talent Cup. We're getting ready to go on our warm-up lap. Please clear the grid. And Token mentioned let's go through the grid, shall we, as well. We have Rory Skinner on pole position. Thomas Strudwick, no longer a championship contender, in second. Fenton Seabright in third. Max Cook, the only other championship contender, P4. He heads the second row. Jack Nixon alongside him, and Joshua Watley, who got a podium yesterday. The best celebration I think I've pretty much seen all season. He starts from 6th. Lewis Patterson in 7th. Jack Hart in 8th. Charlie Ferrer in 9th. Brian Hart 10th. Franco Bourne 11th. Harvey Claridge 12th. Jamie Davis 13th. Cameron Horseman, who had a cracking race yesterday, nearly made it onto the podium, P14. Jonathan Campbell P15. Reese Irwin 16th. Charlie Atkins 17th. Scott Ogden 18th. Sam Laffins 19th. And your final runner today in P20, Ross Turner. So we're about to get underway on our warm-up lap, and just to make identification so much easier for everybody at home and us, look at the array of similar helmets that we have on this British Talent Cup grid. Pretty much, I think they're all sponsored by all Shark helmets there. So Rory Skinner, the number 11, getting away, heading the warm-up lap here. And of course, let's just also clarify, after our experiences in the Edge Talent Cup, Fran, they do need to be careful on this warm-up lap as well.
They do indeed, yes. We had a few dramas in Sepang, definitely, and I think one in Muteki even as well. So yeah, it's not really a usual thing that you see, but it can happen sometimes. Marc Marquez has done the same. And so, you know, it happens to the best of us, but definitely something to watch out for. You have to get to the grid to be able to start the race in the first place. But I think today that should be less of a challenge, given that the track conditions are so much better than they were.
Yeah, and I think we should get a bit of a closer race as well. It was definitely a 2-horse race yesterday, and once Skinner decided, well, I'm just going to let him go ahead, frankly, the victory was completely all Max Cook's. All he had to do was cross the finish line. His pace was far better than everybody else's, but that battle for the final podium spot was absolutely fascinating yesterday, and hopefully that sort of battle is what we get for the win today as well. And maybe it mixing the championship fight with that as well. I'm frankly salivating the prospect of this race.
Yeah, it's been some great racing this season from all of these guys, but it has quite often come down to a duel. There's been maybe one of those front few guys making a mistake and then leaving it for the other two to fight it out. Skinner's cleared off on occasion. You know, it's been some incredible finishes this season, but we haven't really had that 3- or 4-man fight right down to the line. So it could be pretty good if we can get that here. Obviously, it is a little bit harder to get that slipstream effect here in Valencia. It's a lot tighter track. You can't really, you know, you don't have those straights at Sepang in that final corner to really make those kinds of gains. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Like I said, the form book from yesterday won't necessarily tell us that much, so it should be a pretty fresh race.
Hopefully so. Well, last little chance to warm up your tyres here. Weave in from left to right. They're coming up onto the grid there. That is Rory Skinner, the man with the advantage. Could he take home the first ever British Talent Cup here today in how many laps? 17 laps we have in this race. Just like yesterday, it's a long, long old race for these guys. Some of them very much, well, 13 years old. So the youngest riders on this grid, including yesterday's podium finisher. We know who they're supporting, the Scotsman. Rory Skinner, and the man with the red flag on the front of the grid is going to depart. Exit stage left, please, sir. The lights are going to go on, and once again, it will be tally ho, and away we go for the final race of the British Talent Cup in 2018. Who is going to take home the biggest prize of all? Will it be Max Cook, the number 5, or the number 11 of Rory Skinner? Thomas Strudwick, the number 8, the former contender for the title, has taken the whole shot into the lead, followed by Skinner and Max Cook in third. How about that then? We have got a battle royale on our hands. Although Skinner, he's making a move up the inside into turn 2. A lot of corner speed in there. He runs it wide, and it looks like Strudwick's taking him straight back. Yeah, definitely. I think that tells us Rory's intentions for this race. Immediately attacking for the lead. Obviously on a dry track, just feeling like he wants to get to the front and try and pull away and keep himself away from all of this action, which is thrilling to watch, but rather nervous to be a part of, I think, when you're trying to fight for a title. But Cook, definitely a much better start than yesterday. Yesterday, he almost ended up taking himself out of victory contention by getting a little bit bogged down and gave himself a big mountain to climb, which he did in incredible style. But today, definitely right on the tail of these two, and already you can see that tiny bit of daylight between the front 3 and then a couple others as they start to spread out. My goodness, those little technical sections really have blown it apart a little bit. You've got almost a bit of a front group pulling away almost. Spencer Seabright, a bit of a made a few losses from off the grid there. He's down in 6th place, I think he is, from the front row of the grid. Jack Nixon made a superb start as well, the number 2. He's in hot pursuit of the front 3 guys, although he's just been overtaken there. I think that's number 9. That'll be Brian Hart, who's ahead of him. He's on the chase down now of Max Cook as well. Now, if you're looking at Max Cook and thinking, ooh, he might be struggling to keep up a little bit with Skinner and Strudwick at this point, well, it was around about the halfway mark yesterday where he really started to make some gains. Having said that, completely different conditions today. They're exiting the final corner, coming around to complete the first lap. Yeah, as you said, there's very, very different conditions. I said it a couple of times, really cannot stress enough. It's obviously completely dry track today, very different, and unfortunately, obviously, with the terrible weather we had here on Thursday for these guys in their practice session, FP2 was also cancelled. They only have wet experience, really, so this is a bit of a shot in the dark for many, and that could play into the hands more of someone like Skinner, who has high-level competitive experience at this track in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. So you never know, we could see maybe that start to come into play towards the end of the race if he's able to pull away, but I'm sure Cook will try and give it absolutely everything, and Strudwick obviously can't take the cup now but has a lot to prove and definitely will want to end the year with a win. Yeah, precisely. All these guys do. Anybody within on this entire field would absolutely take your arm off for a race win here in the final race of the season. Getting a notification on our screens, Jonathan Campbell has got a ride-through penalty, the number 24. He is currently down in 11th place at the moment, just behind Josh Watley, the number 6, the 13-year-old who got his podium yesterday. He has been bumped way down the order in these dry conditions. Yeah, seemed to have lost out quite a lot there. But, you know, we saw yesterday that battle raged on and on, so it's definitely far from over. Just a bad start, you can recover from it, as Cook showed yesterday, as Maverick Vinales has unfortunately been forced to show in quite a few MotoGP races this year. But it can affect the colour of your race in some ways, but these guys, it's a little bit easier to reel back in those front runners, and especially if these guys start fighting it out, that's going to help those behind to catch them a little bit. At the moment, Strudwick seems able to stay with Skinner, but it'd be interesting to see if he does start to try and make a move, or if he's content to just sit there and watch the Scot and see his form around this track. Yeah, I think Strudwick knows that the Scot is the man with, well, I think he knows. He 100% knows that Rory Skinner is the man with all the pressure on his shoulders in this race. He could just sit there, watch him, let him make a mistake if he's going to, pile on the pressure, make him think, and he's going to just completely ignore what I've exactly said. Maybe it looked as though he was going to take a look up the inside and move in there, but he seems pretty happy just to sit behind him at the moment, check out what he's doing. He's got no need to be on any rush into the distance at the moment. Although, look at that, Skinner looks so strong into turn 2. Yeah, definitely. A little bit of a different line there from Rory, but like you say, he does look very strong. It looks like maybe it's
costing Strudwick a little bit more to keep this pace. And Max Cook as well at the moment, he's got a bit of a queue behind him of Brian Hart and Cameron Horseman. But I enjoyed that noise there. I really hope that is the exact noise that he's making inside his helmet as Thomas Strudwick.
Yeah. I'm sure they're completely focused enough and aware enough to make sort of strange commentator noises and whatnot during the race. But we got a real battle for the final podium spot as well. Number 3, Cameron Horseman. He said he had a good race yesterday. He's had a great start today, all the way from row 5 on the grid. Moving up there, I think he's just gone into 4th. Yes, he has.
Yeah, absolutely. Good showing again from the number 23. And yeah. Ooh, getting closer on there.
I twitched then. I thought, what was happening
Definitely.
at that point?
I thought he was also going to try it there as well. But yeah, great race yesterday. Just missed out on that podium to Josh Watley, who was a bit of a tactical genius on the last couple of laps yesterday. But this is not good news for Cook if he wants to take the cup. No. So he's obviously now bogged down in a bit of a battle. You can see that gap between the front duo and those guys fighting for 3rd at the moment has really grown.
Yeah, I'm sure something has happened to Jack Nixon, the number 2 as well, after such a great start, filling out in 3rd place or 4th place or so at the beginning. He's bumped all the way back to 7. He's really lost some ground on those final podium spots as well. But look at this, could be well be a 2-horse race. We'd love to get some onboard shots from Strudwick's thing, and there is the confirmation. That will be Campbell getting the notification through. You need to come in for a ride through penalty, son. I'm really sorry, you're in P13, but you're gonna come in and do a pit lane. That will really, really ruin his race. So unlike yesterday, we're noticing as well, going all the way out on these curves, although Rory Skinner was taking a lot of liberties on those curves yesterday. A few too many chances for my liking yesterday in those wet conditions, but he kept it upright, so who am I to complain?
Yeah, definitely. There was a couple of guys yesterday in the different classes who just seemed to have absolutely no fear at all of those curves and white lines, which traditionally will be something that you avoid pretty much at all costs because you know you're going to crash if you touch one. But no, there were also a few conflicting reports, but like Mark Marquez saying this track drains really well and it has really, really good grip in the wet. And Skinner certainly was another example of that. The lines he was taking, even when it was still, you know, there was a lot of spray on the track, still very, very wet, just seemed perfectly confident to still take those wider lines and touch that paint.
I think also on the screen at the moment you have the graphic of the championship standings at the moment. This is what Strudwick is fighting for. If he finishes in this position, he can finish ahead of Cook in the championship standings as well. That's why yesterday could have been such a disaster. He might not have only lost the first position in the championship, but also 2nd as well. And he would definitely be bumped down to 3rd place, which is not exactly what he would have anticipated coming into the weekend. But Strudwick holding firm behind Skinner at the moment. A very, very different line choice going down into the final turn here. It looks like Strudwick, his main grab of the brake down into turn 14 is a lot earlier than Rory Skinner's, but Rory Skinner just saw a lot easier coming into there. And I'm not sure what Skinner was messaging him there. He was sort of waving his hand a bit.
Yeah, I think Thomas Strudwick also had a bit of a question about that. I see him look over like, you know, it's only us, right? But anyway, he's gone for the lead.
Was he just waving him through?
Maybe he wants to get a look at him. It did look a little bit more like a tap rather than waving him through for the lead. And now we're, you know, getting side by side tells me maybe he wasn't that keen on letting him past. But yeah, that was an interesting little moment. Not sure what happened there. But we've had some great duels from these guys this season already, and it looks like this one will be a corker, even if it's just, you know, a bit of a formality and Skinner can keep us cool, take this, you know, podium place or even just finish. He'll take the cup. And it's a deserved cup after a really good season for the Scot. But if we do also get this fantastic duel for the race win, it'll be another great finish to the season.
Oh, absolutely. This is really where Skinner's got to make pretty much corner by corner, lap by lap decisions here of what he really wants. Do you want to try and take that race win plus the championship as well? Well, the choice is yours, son, but there comes a very, very high risk and a potentially high price with it as well. Having said that, Max Cook still has a lot of work to do. Even if Skinner was to fall at the minute, Max Cook is still in no position to actually take the title. His only option today is to take the win. He ain't going to do that for 5th place, quite obviously.
Yeah, it does seem as well like there's a lot of daylight now between those two guys. It's about 2.6 seconds. Last time over the line, obviously the two in front was so close together that it was only sort of 100th in it. Then it was about 2.5 seconds last time around back to those guys fighting for that final spot on the podium, of which one is Max Cook. But he definitely needs a lot better than that, and barring any serious drama up ahead, at the moment it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make that materialise. So it could be an interesting one. It'd be interesting as well to see now what Rory Skinner's going to do, and if Thomas Strudwick does have the pace to be able to pull away in the lead. But It's always an interesting thing, I think, when you just have a duel, and especially with the extra sort of tactics of the Cup and Skinner and the position that he's in with the points. But yeah, I think these guys just sizing each other up at the moment, but not much to choose between them.
Yeah, this is the battle for third as well. Number 23, Cameron Horseman, leading the way at the moment. That really was a cracking start for him from the 5th row of the grid. He is still battling Brian Hart as well as Max Cook, the championship contender. And just as you think, Fran, that Thomas Strudwick is trying to get away from Rory Skinner pulls him back in.
Yeah, apologies if anyone just heard me squeak under my breath then. They got very, very close together there. It definitely doesn't look like Rory's prepared to just take a safe second to take that cup today. Absolutely gunning for glory here. But, yeah, definitely an interesting battle, I think, on our hands here. Because I did kind of expect Strudwick to make a little bit more daylight, maybe, after he was around 3/10 clear last time over the line. But Skinner's caught him again. And no signs of nerves for the Scot at the moment.
No, he's just completely in the zone of following this guy. Anything you can do, I can do just the same, maybe even better. We shall see as the race goes on. 12 laps to go at this stage. We're at turn 12. Plenty of problems there for many, many riders over the weekend, particularly in the wet. Not so many problems here in the dry, though. Saw plenty of the British Talent Cup riders go down there yesterday as well. How many finishes did we have in the end? Something like 10, wasn't it, from 20?
10 finishers, of which one had crashed as well in 10th. So, yeah, it was really, really tough conditions out there yesterday. Like we said, sorry we keep banging on about it, but it really was difficult. And I was also faced with the threat of having to visit Parc Fermé if the Cup had been decided. So today is definitely better skies for that. But these two, again, super close together over the line. That gap's gone down again, but Rory looks like he might be about to attack now, or at least letting Thomas Strudwick know he's there.
Well, he's not just there, no, he's there. Yeah. He's up into lead. That was
around the outside.
Trailer Park Girls and Dico.
Are you feeling confident? I think so.
Wow.
So, yeah, pretty impressive move there from Rory.
Yeah, really impressive. And I tell you what, I did say at the beginning, he was seriously impressive down at turn 2 there. He just seems to have that little edge of, well, everybody else pretty much at that stage. Last time around, though, it was Scott Ogden who set the fastest lap. So that's even more bad news for Max Cook. I was keeping an eye on them, and the gap is visually coming down between Max Cook and Scott Ogden behind them. Fenton Seabright, though, who, of course, remember, it started from the third position on the grid. He was up in sort of podium winning contention yesterday before crashing out fairly early on. He's an absolute nightmare, back down in 7th, 5.4 seconds off these guys at the moment. But yeah, Ogden, the man on the move at the moment. Could he take Max Cook and demote him even further down? It won't really make much difference in the championship, although it will to Thomas Strudwick.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a nightmare for the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup competitor at the moment, and definitely not what he needs if he is to have a shout at the Cup. But, you know, it's a seriously tall order anyway. Coming into one last race of the season, obviously the win's worth 25 points, 24-point deficit. You're not really going in there thinking that, oh, yeah, I think it's probably going to be me. You're obviously aware of the odds, but definitely I did maybe expect him to throw a little bit more sort of... bit more of a gung-ho attitude maybe off the line, because he knows obviously his only chance is to win this race. But so far at the moment, just a little bit bogged down in that fight to complete the podium, but we still do have 10 laps to go, so it's far from over.
Yeah, far from over. Anything can happen. That's just what he would have had to have been hoping. Anything can happen in these sort of races. These are not the ideal conditions for that sort of race, though, we must admit. The ideal conditions for an absolute wild ride where Skinner can potentially lose the cup is more likely happening in conditions that we had yesterday. You just see, I think, was that Campbell? Yes, he's entered the pits to do his ride through, just come through past our commentary position. Looking very, very disappointed, as we would tend to expect. Rory Skinner holding firm in that first place at the moment. Strudwick happy to just... I mean, I'm very much tempted fate. Every time I say he's very happy just to see what's happening, what his competitor is doing at the moment, is at that point he usually just thunders straight past him. Well, there we are. Campbell has served his ride through penalty, and unfortunately that has put an end to any chance he has pretty much had of his race materialising into anything out of the points.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a heartbreaker that. Obviously, you're trying to react as quickly as humanly possible when the lights go out to get the best start. But obviously, you can just go a little bit too early. I say it's easy to do, like I race every weekend. Obviously, I don't. But the margins are so tiny, and just that tiny movement can really cost you a lot. And it's a bit of a shame in the final race of the season. Bit of a heartbreaker to have to go through the pit lane, and then you know barring any really, really major drama, that is definitely your race over in terms of really taking anything home in terms of points.
Yeah, race over, and yeah, extreme disappointment, but this is all part of the learning curve that these guys have. But we're looking now, and it's like Strudwick is pulled out from the slipstream on Skinner, coming over with 9 laps to go. He pulls alongside of him. It's going to be mirror signal manoeuvre. It is. He's pulled in front, but Skinner round the outside again. My goodness me, that was really impressive. These first 2 corners then, clearly, Skinner far supreme than anybody else in this class here in the dry.
Yeah, definitely so confident on the brakes there. It looks like Max Cook is also feeling pretty confident after a couple of laps, just maybe losing out a little bit more than gaining. And back to the front of this fight for the podium. Have to be careful he doesn't get attacked back again and start losing a bit more time. But yeah, that fight for the fight at the front definitely isn't over then. Rory definitely not willing to just take that second place and play it safe either. So that's great to see. We always like a fight to the finish and not just, you know, okay, I'll ride around in 8th and, you know, go home nice and safely and tuck myself in. Yeah. Nothing like that. Really willing to duel it out, and these two have had some classics. As you can see already, it's going again.
Strudwick really does, it was the same case down in turn 14 as well. It does seem Strudwick is very much a lot earlier on the brakes than Skinner. Skinner just feels so much more confident just to let it flow a little bit more into the corner and just slamming on it immediately. Or maybe Strudwick is actually just holding back a little bit there. Maybe he just wants to show him his wheel, put him under pressure, maybe force him into a bit of a mistake. He's making a move up the inside again. No, he's not, into turn 12. But with all of this, well, shenanigans going on at the front, though, still not letting the other guys catch him up too much. Also, just getting a notification on our screens that Josh Watley has to drop 1 position. So we assume that would be exceeding track limits or something like that to gain a place. Josh Watley down into 10th at the moment. So it looks like, yeah, he would have to drop behind Atkins there and down into 11th.
Yeah, luckily that's the rider in the same group, so it's a bit of a heartbreaker when you've got like a 5-second gap behind you. Drop 1 position, that's a little bit more of a taller order. But yeah, we've not had any crashes, so we've not had any yellow flags, so it can't be anything like that. It must just be something like track limits that the youngster has fallen foul of. But yeah, so 1 position is a few tenths in this case, so hopefully he'll see that and get it done pretty quickly. But again, at the moment, you can see Skinner just able to pull ahead a little bit. And then Strudwick seems to just be able to reel him in again, and especially down into that final corner, is right back on his tail.
Yeah, it seems at any major braking zone, Skinner has the upper hand, but these more tight, flowy, technical bits, that's where Strudwick can really reel him in again, and it's particularly down the home straight as well with the slipstream.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that slipstream does help a lot. I did say at the start of the broadcast it's not a very slipstreamy track, and slipstreamy definitely is a word. But, you know, obviously that's true, but it still does exist, and it is a bit of a help. So,
down that
you know, it's
straight.
When you use it that well as well, and when you're so close and tuck in there, it's every little helps, you know?
And of course, that is how Ben Speeds lost out on what was potentially his only Grand Prix victory as well. Casey Stoner here just took him at the line with that slipstream. Look at this. This was Max Cook. This is why he lost out to Horseman. There was it. He's just got in front of it. So that's how he overtook him. I think he's going to be told to drop a place after that one.
If he stayed very clean so far in the race, might get away with 1, because, you know, if, you know, everyone can make those little mistakes and, you know, just
he didn't exactly change the track layout.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be missing that last bit of judgment, but we'll have to see. I would imagine he's been shown the replay for a reason. So we'll have to see what comes of that. So that could be a bit of a dramatic situation for Max Cook. But again, these two are right close together again on the start-finish straight. Have to see if Strudwick's going to... Yeah, he's going to pull alongside him again. Now see if Rory will outbrake him again. This time you see he's moved right in front of the Scot, trying to make sure that he's not still on that inside line, trying to do that block pass, and Rory just goes straight around the outside of him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then Strudwick runs very wide there and onto the green as well. I'm not sure what he was doing then. He was so wide on it. That's complete blatant misuse of track limits. Rory takes a long look behind there to see who's there. He knows that it's just them two at the moment. There is the other confirmation as well. No, that'll be no notifications they get on their dashes, I don't believe then. They're just being told then by the boards that Josh Watley, he has to drop 1 position. He's on our screens at the moment, is the 13-year-old. Maybe they do actually. That's a bit of lapse in my knowledge there.
He's also behind Charlie Atkins now, which was the rider directly behind him when he was given that penalty. So hopefully that maybe is served for the 13-year-old. Have to wait and see on that. But Strudwick, yeah, like I said, a bit messy there out of turn 1, bit wide. But Skinner taking that moment moment as well to look behind him and just check they are on their own in the duel. And now just seems to have lost that a little bit. It was just 0.009 over the line, and Skinner now markedly a few tenths off. So have to see, maybe he's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to play this game anymore, you know, I'm up for the cup here, not just for this race win, but hopefully not. It's always great to see a fight to the finish, and I think this looks like it'll definitely be a fight for the finish.
Yeah, a battle for third has now become a battle for third between, well, near enough 6 riders. It could well be with 7 laps to go. I thought it was just between 3 of them, Max, Cook, Horseman, and then Brian Hart as well, but it seems no. You got Ogden has caught them up as well as Seabright. Nixon just in the background there, making some headway towards this group. 7 laps to go, and each lap time, well, how long are the laps? About 1 minute 46 seconds. That is a lot of time for these guys to very much get in the mix, although that time around there is a 6/10, nearly even 7/10 gap between Strudwick and Skinner now. Could this be that long look around last time? Rory Skinner checking where everybody else is and thought, do you know what, I do not need to get involved in this, I do not need to risk falling just in case, or taking us both out. He took a long look around yet again. I hope he's not conceded this, well, for the sake of the race, but maybe that is the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a tough one to judge, isn't it? Because obviously, in theory, everyone wants to fight everything out to the end and, you know, all gung-ho and this bravado attitude. But at the end of the day as well, you want to take home that trophy. So it is a genuine compromise to think about. There's something definitely to be said for just playing that longer game at times. So, yeah, it could be an interesting one, although I think 6/10, I think it looks a little bit closer again now, so we'll have to see on the start-finish straight what's happening with that. Another one looking behind him, like, yep, there's a few people there. So, yeah, this fight now is pretty much to complete the top 10 almost, not just to complete the podium. So a lot at stake for a lot of guys in this group who haven't been on that podium yet. So, yeah, a bit surprised maybe by the speed of Joshua Watley today, not quite as up there in these drier conditions, but I have to see how it plays out. 6 laps to go, and yeah, anything can happen in this group and fighting for the podium.
Yeah, and it just gets better and better. Max Cook back in the driving seat in third at the moment. Brian Hart just behind him. He's the one giving him all the hassle at the moment, is the number 9. Seabright, though, seems to have recovered a little bit. He's moved up to 4th ahead of Horseman. And just down, making into turn 14. Got to be so careful there, even in the dry. A little bit off camber, trail braking with a lot of lean angle. You've got to be careful not to lose the front. And was Ogden there, who was having a big look around. Was the number 4 or Slipstream City here. It looks like we're going to have a big overtaking move. Seabright, or is that Seabright who's moved it up into there? Yes, it is. He has moved back into 3rd position now.
Yeah, that was a good move. You can see these guys again, that gap obviously completely reeled him in again and attacking already. And again, to, like, wider through there, but this time just able to hold on to it, and Strudwick doesn't really try and force that door back open. So that's good riding from the number 8. These guys have had some amazing duels this season, like I keep saying, but always the sportsmanship and the, you know, the cleanliness of how they race each other is really something great to see. But yeah, it'll be interesting now. Maybe Rory's decided, okay, no, I am going to attack for this win. He's obviously reeled him in fairly quickly, took a big chunk of tenths at him last time around, and then straight back past.
Yeah, and it's worth reminding that in these current positions that they're in, Max Cook down in 5th place, Strudwick in 2nd. He will take 2nd in the championship by a singular point. Rory Skinner, of course, will be the champion in any case if he takes this win. If Max Cook does not win this race, even, is what I should probably say. So Rory should have this completely wrapped up. 5 laps to go, though. This race for the win is definitely not over. I think this little bit of a... I did suspect whether Rory Skinner was maybe going to let him have it. Maybe he was just dropping back to see what was happening. Maybe he's completely changed his mind, corner by corner, lap by lap. No idea what's going on in his head at the moment. But we're coming around to the final corner again. When we cross the line this time around, it'll be 4 laps to go. Oh, look, Seabright still maintaining that 3rd position. He's got Max Cook just behind him, Brian Hart behind him as well. And what's going to happen on the slipstream this time around? 5 riders in very close quarters indeed. I don't think Nixon is close enough to really join this freight train at the moment. We're going to see any moves down into turn 1. Let's see if there is a move down into turn 1. It's Strudwick. No, Rory Skinner's going around the outside again. He loves that move, and so do we.
Absolutely unwilling to yield there. I really thought that was going to be one or both of them coming across 2 iron wills going around there, but Rory Skinner comes out on top. And I think that probably answers the question that the Scot is out to attack and win this race to win the cup. So here we get a great slow-mo of these two side by side. You can see Strudwick's obviously thinking, right, if you're going to keep going around the outside, I'm going to just stay as close to you as possible right on this inside line. And not too... I don't think there's any contact there, really. Just very close.
No quarter given.
Yeah, that's a great slow-mo shot. See both knees going down, and Skinner just absolutely unwilling to give that back.
Quality. Well, Skinner is back in front, as we saw at the moment. He's still edging out that little bit of a gap there. So whereabouts we at the moment on the track? We're looks like turn 8 or so. Yeah, coming around to turn 9, and then if we flick right, turn 10 and 11. Yes, this is where the part where Strudwick was a little bit more competent in the earlier laps, but those sort of turns 1, turn 2 was where Rory was really able to get him, and also turn 14. But looking at the group behind him, really is absolutely no chance of anybody letting up there for this podium position. I hope these guys, a little bit like yesterday, can get across the line. We can get the celebrations out of the way quick enough so we can see what happens in that final corner. We're at the final corner now in 4 laps to go at the moment, so 3 more goes around there, and we'll be finding out who is going to take the victory here. Strudwick going to be mirror single manoeuvring around the outside of Rory Skinner again. Will he do the same as he did last time around? He's not actually close enough this time as Strudwick to make a move. Rory Skinner, maybe he just backed off a little bit, maybe pulled out too early. We'll have to see. 3 laps to go. Yeah,
he wasn't glued in the slipstream that time down there. Maybe learned the lesson from last time that there is going to be pretty much no way through at turn 1. So, you know, a really impressive defensive riding from Skinner to just keep on that line and just... I was going to say keep his foot in, but not really quite the same with bikes. But, yeah, some great duels between those two, and... have to see how that plays out. Strudwick seems to have got a bit of a different line around the final corner as well. Who knows? That's where the 2013 Moto3 World Championship was decided. So a lot can go down there as well on the final corner of the final lap. But at the moment, Skinner not quite able to pull away, but certainly unwilling to give the lead up.
And I don't want to jinx anything, but there are still possibilities. If these two have a coming together at the final corner, if Max Cook stays in third there, he could take the win and the title. The possibilities still are endless. You do not want to miss a single bit of it. It's going to be 2.5 laps to go around about now. Skinner's still in front. Strudwick not letting him get away. He does seem to love this sort of more flowing section. It's not so much flowing depending on your class. If you're a MotoGP, very stop-start in the middle of this circuit. But with these bikes, very much so flowing. High corner speed. He maintains the lead there. No way through for Strudwick that time around at turn 12. Round about here, let's see what Rory is able to do on the braking zone down into turn 14. And you can see Strudwick really sits up a lot earlier, and Skinner just manages to keep that distance supremely. You normally see riders close up on each other, but Skinner supreme in that corner. Can Strudwick get in the slipstream enough to pull out by the time the finish line comes around? We couldn't quite see from that camera angle.
No, I've been trying to keep an eye on that a few times, and it doesn't seem like Strudwick's quite able to get on a par with him by the time the finish line does turn up. So obviously there are some tracks spectacularly and famously, one great example is Mugello, where you really, really can win a race, you know, from 6th, 7th, 8th in the group coming out of the final corner. But here, there's not that much distance between the final corner and that finish line, so it's a bit of a taller order. But yeah, pretty interesting at the moment in the standings, there you see. Skinner does not need this win, but it would put him 33 points clear, and yeah, chopping and changing for these guys. Cook, if he does want to take that second from Strudwick or keep that second from Strudwick, he also needs to make sure that he takes that podium. And then, like you said, if we have drama between the front two, who knows what could happen?
Drama between the front two, or drama between the second two. The guys fighting for third place as well. Brian Hart is the man who's still giving Cook so much to think about here. Well, Rory Skinner, he's just not able to shake off Strudwick, and I don't think he will to the end of it. I did wonder if he's able to put out a little bit onto the two sort of rear sections, the first section and the final sector. I think just try and find that little bit extra in the infield as well to try and edge out that gap to give Strudwick no chance of pulling a perhaps overly ambitious move into the final corner. But here's an ambitious move. Strudwick, no way through there for him. Well, it's coming around to this the penultimate turn of the penultimate lap. When we come around this corner, we're going to be starting the final lap of the British Talent Cup in 2018. Rory Skinner could come around and become the champion. Fran, you're going to have to absolutely leg it to Part Verme to go and do these interviews. She's putting on her coat. There is absolutely no chance of putting on my coat. Way too hot and sweaty, getting nervous about what is going to happen here, Fran.
So here we're coming into the first chance that Strudwick's probably going to try and maybe make a move, or maybe not. Looks maybe content to sit there. Obviously been told in no uncertain terms last time he tried that move that it's probably not going to work. So it would be interesting to see if he does wait and make one attack, or if he does try it as early as he's close enough. But Skinner at the moment just got that little bit of breathing space behind him to really, unless it's very, very ambitious, to just be able to stay ahead.
Yeah, he was just so supremely confident down into turn 1 and turn 2 that time. He actually even pulled out a gap into the braking zone on turn 1. Just keeping an eye on the live timing screens as well. Max Cook still occupying that third space, which is what he needs to be. Looks like Brian Hart could well not be close enough to actually make a move on him into the final corner by anything disastrous. Both Strudwick and Skinner running onto the green there. That could probably be allowed given it's the final lap. But got to be careful, can't do anything too much. Don't want to find any post-race race direction decisions to decide this championship at all, do we now?
Yeah, absolutely not. Keep it clean, lads, not only with each other, but also track limits got to be respected, but they've raced it fairly cleanly so far. Just a few obvious little mistakes here and there, and nothing purposely trying to gain anything, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. See Strudwick really, really gunning to get in within striking distance really to make a move, but I'm not sure if it's how it's going to go.
Well, let's see. He was really carrying heaps of corner speed there, but we're coming around to the final corner now, and it does not look like Strudwick is going to be close enough to make a move. He looked up the inside. He's not going to be able to do it. It's going to be all about that slipstream. What's happening in the final corner with the Podium group, we don't know. But Rory Skinner, he's about to cross the line. Is he going to take victory? He is. He's going to take the British Talent Cup win, but it's Thomas Strudwick who takes the win at the death of it. But Rory Skinner is your inaugural British Talent Cup champion. Max Cook takes third. Thank you very much, Fran. Enjoy interviewing the winner of the British Talent Cup. Max Cook, he did all he could there on that final lap to make sure he was in prime position. What a race. Brian Hart takes fourth place. Fenton Seabright comes out in fifth. Oh, Thomas Strudwick, you timed that to perfection, my son. 0.037 seconds was the gap between them two last time around. He couldn't quite get the slipstream then. I do wonder whether he was calculating how much more gas he needed out that final turn. He just pip the Scotsman to the line. There we are, some burnouts. Let's ruin those bikes, tyres and engines. Absolutely class C's this is. Oh, these young kids, they are absolutely brilliant. Well, how about that then for a finale? It comes down not just the final corner, we're right to the finish line in the British Talent Cup for 2018, the first ever one. Not sure I've mentioned that enough in this broadcast, but look at that. At the end of the day, the number 11 and the number 8, some great sportsmanship between the two. Absolutely class indeed. They both couldn't be happy for each other. I'm sure it would have been a little bit different yesterday when Strudwick crashed out, but Rory Skinner, absolutely superb. What a win that really was. And there you go, Max Cook, his only rival there. He's still smiling as well. He's got a podium. He congratulates him as well, understandably so. And I'm so glad that the rain clouds that have been gathering all around the circuit throughout that race have stayed clear. Oh my goodness, what's happened to the sun there? Just very, very low sun indeed. This is Rory Skinner, your champion. Rory Skinner then, the number 11, is the first ever British Talent Cup champion. Another quality stand-up wheelie there. Very, very ambitious on these absolutely minuscule bikes. Well, how about that then? He took his first victory of the season back at Donington Park, round 2. His second victory was at Snetterton, the first race there. The first race and the only race at Silverstone, he took victory as well. And the same goes for Aston. The only time he didn't follow that trend here in Valencia. Yesterday, he gave up the ghost. He let Max Cook, well, he pretty much let it go for that win yesterday. Max Cook was feeling overly confident. He thought it wasn't worth the risk, but he followed it up today. He got, well, 2 second places, but he got the overall victory. I think the phrase I was looking for then was he may have lost both the battles this weekend, but he won the overall war. Oh, dearie, dearie, they had it coming together there almost. They weren't sure exactly where to go. He tried to go straight ahead into Parc Ferme, bless him, but goodness me, you don't want to be crashing when you're actually coming in to the Parc Ferme, Rory. Goodness me. Well, he's chuffed about that one then. The camera flashes are going all over. This is what it is. You got Thomas Strudwick doing a burnout in Parc Ferme as well. This is absolutely class. What lovely scenes that is. Well, he definitely made up for yesterday's faux pas in the wet, but he was in fairly good company given that half the field made a similar error. And, these are the celebrations. Team very, very happy for him. Of course, take nothing away from Max Cook. Worthy championship contender too. There he is talking with Chan Onchu.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. I see you.
Chan Onchu and Dennis Onchu there, the twin brothers, congratulating their friend Max Cook. And he goes and congratulates Rory. A big hug. Hey, well done, mate. That is really good to see. Smiles from both of them. Rory's understandably very, very chuffed with that one. That's what it feels to be a champion. Not just any champion, the champion of an inaugural series. He's going to go over to James Toseland, double World Superbike champion, former MotoGP rider, getting the interviews on BT Sport. And of course, Parc Ferme, one of the best scenes around. And given it's the final round of the season, plenty of people all around want a piece of the action. Some of the views as they don the caps. There's Unlop winners and podium caps. The winner, Thomas Strudwick. Decidedly different scenes there. It looks as though he is going to be having a chat. Your race winner with Fran Wild down in Parc Ferme. Whenever they're ready. Oh no, he's actually going to be chatting to James Toseland first. So, but Rory Skinner then done his champions interview, and I think in a couple of seconds he is actually going to be speaking to Fran Wild. There he is.
So Rory, congratulations. It's been an incredible season for you. A little bit of a shakier start at times, and then in the last few races just been gaining and gaining, and then today dueling for the winning style and eventually taking that cup. What can you tell us?
Oh, it's great. It's such a good feeling to finally win the cup. It's definitely been a little bit of a different kind of style to what I've been used to coming back to the UK tracks. Some of them may not have suited my style as much as what the last few have, but no, it's been a great season. Massive thank you to all the British Talent Cup for all the opportunity they've given me this season. It's really been great.
Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hablar con ella.
Because they stopped talking to me.
There we are then, Rory Skinner. There's the words of the champion. And yeah, what a victory that really was. The riders will be coming up onto the podium fairly soon. Fran will be coming back into the box. And yes, really what a race that was. I'm so glad that we had such an exciting finale to the British Talent Cup. We always do in these Talent Cup series. Be sure to follow the likes of the British Talent Cup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube as well, and also the Asia Talent Cup as well. Our Far Eastern cousins over there as well. These are the final results then. Thomas Strudwick took the race victory, but he did not win the war. He took the victory by 0.015 seconds. How about that? How close do you like it? Well, you can't really get much closer. Rory Skinner second from Max Cook, Brian Hart, Fenton Seabright, Cameron Horseman, Scott Ogden, Jack Nixon and Jack Hart there, top 9. Charlie Atkins was 10th from Joshua Watley, Franco Bourne, Rhys Irwin, Harvey Claridge, Charlie Ferret, Jamie Davis, Ross Turner, Lewis Patterson there. Just a minute adrift of these guys. And then we have Jonathan Campbell and Sam Laffins bringing up the rear. And of course, all of these guys actually finished today. Stark contrast to yesterday. Fan, welcome back to the box. We're about to go through the championship standings.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very different race today, wasn't it, compared to yesterday?
Contrast, aye.
So, yeah, great to see everyone managing to get that final finish. Bit of a shame for Jonathan Campbell to get that ride through. But, yeah, pretty stunning end to the Cup, I think, there. Absolutely down to the line.
Yeah, completely. Well, Thomas Strudwick did actually, with that victory, take second in the series. Max Cook just behind him. And the likes of Fenton Seabright with that finish moves away, stays in 12th place. Jack Hart's moved up a place though with that finish as well. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a fitting finish to the Cup, that race. And obviously Strudwick had those cards very close to his chest throughout all of those laps there. Didn't look at all like that was going to be possible. And then just absolutely pulled it out of the hat there out the final corner on the final lap. So
exactly.
Pretty incredible stuff.
And
I think now we're going to see the podium.
We are. And I've just had an email through, and it was indeed a photo finish to check that he had actually won. Like, who needs a photo when you got my eyes with these glasses? I called it.
Here you can see the guys with their caps getting ready to head out and celebrate this final race of the season. And it was an incredible finish. I think Strudwick's burnout was something pretty impressive as well.
The four of them together doing a burnout was one of the coolest things we've seen all season. I absolutely love that. I'm not sure, for all the viewers at home just hearing me cackling in the background.
No, it's a great finish there. I think it's good in a lot of ways here. We've got these three guys who've been the, front runners throughout most of the season and now on the podium in that final race. That's fitting. And there we go, Dorna CEO Carmelo Espeleta doing the honours today. That's great to see. So we've got third place to Max Cook, and second place to Rory Skinner in the race at least, and our new champion. And then finally, Thomas Strudwick, race winner today and points leader for much of the season. Definitely a really big name and contender this year, so great year for all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with the trophies handed out, time for the race winners' national anthem. It can pretty much only be one choice. Put your cap back on, hold your head up high, Thomas Strudwick. You've won the final race of the British Talent Cup for 2018. Rory Skinner, though, the man in second place, the champion. Everyone posed for a photo. Everyone say cheese, or as they say around here, queso. Oh, they probably don't say that, do they, Fan?
Yeah, I think they do, yeah.
They say queso?
We are in Spain.
You say you won't say queso when you're going for a
okay, no, not in an idiomatic correct way, of course not. So I think we're now going to see a few of the highlights from this race. An incredible way to close out the season. Great to have finally a dry race at the end after that wet drama yesterday. And as you can see, Strudwick will be pretty much the race leader from the start, dueling for it throughout, and eventually absolutely perfect finish for him, ace up his sleeve in the extreme to take that win. Yeah, he made his intentions very, very clear from the start with that whole shot. It was all about the three front runners in the championship in this race, pretty much, although they had plenty of contenders making life difficult for them. And of course, Rory Skinner, though, he seemed to have had the upper hand through most of the technical sections, but it wasn't enough in the end. Here was one of the points where Rory Skinner just able, look at that, round the outside, absolutely superbly on Thomas Strudwick. No one in this class goes round turn 2 at Valencia better than Rory Skinner. Put down a placard, put it up in you all, mate. That was extraordinary stuff. As incredible as that is, I'm sure the British Talent Cup trophy itself maybe would be more fun for him to see on his shelf. But yeah, these two, as you can see, the highlights is going to be a lot of the number 11 and the number 8 there. It was a really great duel. And Max Cook just being forced to fight it out for that final podium spot in this group, but coming out on top, which he'll be pretty pleased with, I think. And actually a few tenths of breathing space just at the end there. So, and another one here, another little bit of a nervous moment, although not quite as close. But yeah, some really, really great moves from these two. And that final move from Strudwick around the final corner to out-drag him to the line. absolutely timed to perfection.
Yeah, it really, really was time to perfection, and this was it. This was how Thomas Strudwick took the win, and this was how Rory Skinner won the British Talent Cup for 2018. We'll be back next year, of course, and we'll be finding out who will be the second ever British Talent Cup champion at some point. Rory Skinner, though, the champion, is tally-ho and goodbye from me and Fran. We're off to have a cup of tea to celebrate the British Talent Cup victory.